All right, when it comes to leather, there's no end of styles of leather. A lot of that big stuff you can see there is what is called veg tan. We don't use that in Bible rebinding. But I laid out an assortment here that I'd like to kind of explain some terms I'll use. I guess everybody uses the terms a little bit differently, but in emailing, texting, phone conversations, I'll use words to describe them. These are the main leathers that we'll use on the exterior of the Bible. And I believe everything here except for one is a goat skin, and that is the predominant. But when I describe something, and I try not to buy any more of this, I just don't like it. Some people do, but it's I would describe it as spongy. It's a little bit thicker, and it has a really deep grain. And the grain is all the markings you see here. And the deeper the grain, seems to me to be the lesser it takes stamping very well. It takes it, but not near as well as something without any grain. And there's all kinds of differences in them. Now this is a navy blue goat, and you can see the grain there, and I think that's more along the lines of what I would call normal. It's not, I wouldn't call it firm in hand. I wouldn't call it supple either. This is kind of middle of the road. Flexible, but not firm. This is a green, little thinner, still goat skin. But as you look in there, the grains are, it's a lot finer grain. This one's a little thinner. And oddly enough, it's a little more firmer in the hand. And that may be a little harder to explain, to tell you the truth. When something is firmer in the hand, it's going to take lasering very well. It's going to stamp very well. It's a little more difficult turning corners, but just a little bit. Now this one I got out is I would call it firm, and the difference is always going to be the firm ones. They mold better. In my experience thus far, when you have the yap, they keep their form a little better because they just take form better. That's all I'm going to say. But that's a real smooth grain. And then you move to the one next to it, and it's goat as well. And it's a little firmer in hand. A little firmer in hand. I just got this one, but really like it. And when you say firm in hand, when you feel your Bible, there's going to be a little bit difference from the last item I'll show you here in a minute. It's real soft, but regular goat skin. And this is I always like to mention that it's shiny, but this is a pretty good grain, very supple, very soft, but it does have a little shininess to it. This one is goat skin. Very supple, extremely thin, and regardless, almost all of them, they'll get skived anyways, but very supple in hand, and you can feel the softness on a Bible. And I would just mention in hand, these are not high-end goat skins. In other words, Badalassi and all the different brands that you can get that are grown in the mountains of who knows where over in India, they're going to usually run about 10 times what this costs. But that's something we can do, but the price does go up dramatically when you get into what people would call the finest of leathers, and Badalassi is just the one that comes to mind. And this is a goat skin. I would call it supple. This is a real nice one to work with. When it's supple, it's a little bit stretchy. And this last one is actually sheepskin, and just paper thin. This is 1-2 ounces, less than 2 ounces. Most of these other ones, that leather measures in ounces, like this one is about a 3, and I think the thickest thing here is a 3. I might get close to a 4, but not likely. But those are your typical outside ones, and most of these, I'll try to post the more frequent colors that I get, but from my local supplier, Panhandle Leather, several of these came from there. I'd say about 80% of them. I've ordered from all kinds of places, kind of experimenting, and I find my best selection right here locally, and also a little better leather in my opinion. Now I'm going to move on and show you some of the interior leathers. These are all goat skin or sheep. The interior, so far, pretty much I've been doing calf skin. All right. These are what I've been using predominantly for the interiors. And usually the exterior is going to measure anywhere from 1 to usually not much more than 2 ounces. And then the interior, I've grown to like a little thicker leather. It's usually about a 3 on the heavy side up to not quite a 4, but a heavy 2 to 3. And these leathers, if you know your leather, are usually listed as bag leather. Leathers, they'll make purses out and things. Upholstery leather, depends on where you buy them from and that kind of thing. But there's no end of what can be done. And these are usually going to be less grainy. They're going to be a little smoother. You can see that one coming into frame. That one's heavy, pebbly. I've done one Bible, I used that for the exterior. There's no rules here. And but that's the standard in what I use typically. And these things come in huge full cow rolls usually, whereas the goat hides will come at about 5 feet is a big one. These will come in 40 foot plus rolls, square foot. But anyways, these are the examples of the inside leathers that I use, and of course the exterior we've already looked at. Again, you can use goat inside and out if a person wants to, and these can be used on the outside. Typically, these, if they're used on the outside, it's not really a Bible you'd want a large yap on. But anyways, here and there, pick them like you like them, and we'll build it for you.